Do you ever find that you're messing around, you may be writing a song, it's kind of easy on the guitar, I think, to come up with a chord sequence that works. So you've got something like maybe C, you get to A minor maybe, F, it's quite standard that, maybe end on the G. So you've got that C, A minor, F, G. And then maybe you're thinking, I'm not sure where it goes from there. And you may be wanting to also think about how the piano part might work with that. And you want to maybe take it from the guitar to the piano. I do this quite a lot. And I find the way that I might come up with a chord sequence or write a song is actually quite different on a guitar to a piano, even though essentially I'm using the same chords and it's the same chord sequence. Well, this is where knowing your piano chord inversions comes in really handy. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Right, so we've got our chord sequence. I'm just moving to this piano chord visualizer thing. So at the moment, we've got C, F, C and G. Well, that's not right. So let's just get the chords. A minor. These are what I was playing on the guitar. So it's C, A minor, F and G. If I play that sequence, you'll notice down there, if you watch the keyboard at the bottom, the hand's jumping around a lot. Now, admittedly, when it goes from C to A minor, it jumps up. Could have easily jumped down, but either way, it's going to be a jump. And whilst it is the correct chords and it could accompany the guitar, it doesn't sound very nice. And for that piano player, it's not nice to play, and there's a lot of jumping, and there's potential error for getting it wrong due to those jumps. But the main thing is it doesn't sound nice. So this is the left hand, by the way, so 5 is your little finger and 1 is your thumb. It's telling you which ones to play. If I now optimize this path so that you're basically taking advantage of chord inversions, it should sound a lot nicer and be easier to play. So let's just try. There's the C, look, so there's nothing changed there. You've got your little fingers on C, the root note, in the root inversion, if you like, root position. A minor, let's just play it first so you can get a feel for it. So that's nice, isn't it? It doesn't really flows quite good, and there's not huge jumps with the intervals. So yeah, C's in the root position. The second chord, A minor, is actually using A minor in the first inversion. So you've got, yes, your thumb is on C still from the first chord, but what it normally would be is on A there, A, C, E, but instead we're using the first inversion, so it's C, E and A. On to chord 3, we've got F major, but again, F is normally, like you start on F, you get an A and a C. So this is the second inversion with your little finger on C. What's also quite nice about this chord sequence played like this is so far your little finger, if you're playing with the left hand here, hasn't moved from the C key. There's some continuity, which is always nice. The fourth chord is G major, and it does need to move at that point because, well, there's just no C chord in C note in the G chord. Now we're using the second inversion of the G chord. So again, G would normally be G, B, D, right? Down here. But instead we're inverting it twice so that the root note is actually D, G and B. So if you look up at the top here, we're actually using the root for the first, C in the root position, the first inversion of A minor, the second inversion of F, and the second inversion of G. So what this tells me is you've got to know your inversions really. So it would be a good idea to practice all of the chords in the major and minor keys, ideally with both hands, and then just practice in the different inversion positions to really become familiar with those, and then be able to play these sequences and actually know what you're playing. So there we go. Inversions are crucial for songwriting, but also really important when you're playing it back too. I hope you found this video useful. If you are a budding songwriter like me, maybe this is something that appealed to you. Maybe you already knew it, I don't know. Maybe I'm just teaching people to suck eggs or whatever the phrase is. But I think this is really interesting, and my guitar playing, as I said at the beginning of the video, and the way I approach songwriting on a guitar is definitely different to the piano. And I think it's really interesting and creative to sort of swap between the two instruments in order to write a song. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.